All right. We are live. Welcome, you guys. Let me check settings real fast. Looks good. Always double check before and after we start. And everything looks good on my end. Happy Sunday. Happy weekend. Glad to see all faces here, familiar and new. This is going to be good. This is going to be really good. How's everybody's weekend going? Meowdy, Morgan. Good to see you. Fabiola. Adam, hello, sir. I'm excited to meet up again soon. Megan, Dina, Angie. Excellent, excellent. Oh, let me check real quick. What is you? All right, we're good. Gonna give it just a few more seconds to allow people to get notified, come on in, get cozy, as per usual, but we will be diving in here very shortly. I already see a number of great questions. Hi, guys. Yara. Hello, Jackie. Sanvika. Oh, so many good faces. Excellent. Oh, I'm ready to dive in. These are really good. These are really good questions. On that note, oh, 1 second, real quick. Okay. All right, we're good. We are good. Let's go ahead and jump on in. No, we've already got about 70 people here. That number's going to grow. So again, welcome you guys. Thank you so much for being here and joining on this lovely Sunday morning where I am, but afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. And as always, every Sunday we meet up and we do a live Q&A where we talk about the law, all things manifestation, get a chance to ask your questions, because as always, my aim here is to help you have as much clarity and understanding in how to apply these teachings in your life to see the best results possible. As far as announcements go, not a whole heck of a lot. I do want to thank everybody who joined me last week for the house tour and a lot of the amazing comments that you guys left. I have not had a chance to respond to all of them yet, but thank you all so much. You are incredibly sweet. Much love to each of you. I really do appreciate that. And I will be coming out with that video on how I manifested this house. Expect that soon. But before that, we do have another video to follow this live Q&A on some impossible, quote unquote, manifestation success stories. I really want to keep with the theme here of imagining boldly, really allowing yourself to go all in, no matter what the circumstances may look like, no matter how difficult or impossible it might feel. So definitely stick around for that, or keep eyes out, notifications on for that. Oh, the Mindset Mastery Program. So I do have, I'm going to be opening here soon in the next couple of weeks, my 12-week coaching program, the Mindset Mastery Program. If anybody is interested in working together or getting more information about that, I will have all that information down in the description box, along with other resources, things of that note. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm dehydrated this morning. Morgan, you crack me up. Meowdy, what was Neville's experience with the promise? Two-part questions it look. And part two, I can't seem to make the new memory stick when revising. What's another way to revise without visualizing? Those are good questions. So first part, what was Neville's experience with the promise? So the promise, to put it as simply as possible, and I will be coming out with another video soon on the promise. I made one, it was a handful of years ago, so I want to do a more updated, newer video on the promise. But essentially, the promise is for lack of better words, the awakening, awakening to who you really are. It is the awareness that you are not this human form, this ego self or self concept, um, but the awakening to being consciousness, or the Father, as it is referred to in the Bible and by Neville. And it's a series of mystical experiences, four to be exact, four mystical experiences over the span of, I think, 1,260 days. Not sure if I got that number exactly right, but it is effectively the awakening to who you really are. You can read about Neville's testimony. He talks about it in many lectures, especially his later lectures, but he also talks about it in the last chapter of his book, The Law and the Promise. So if you are interested in gleaning his own feedback and his own account, definitely check that out. And as far as ways to revise without visualizing, there's many different ways that we can revise. And one of the great things about revision is how versatile it is. It really is. You can use scripting, you can use inner conversations, you can use affirmations. So there's many different ways that we can utilize techniques in order to, effectively revise. So basically using the techniques that may come more naturally to you if visualizing is not your strongest suit. And I have made a video actually about revision using scripting. If you use the YouTube search bar, that should pop right up if you type in Missy Renee, revision, scripting, something like that. Just use those keywords and that video should come right up. But there are many different ways that we can go ahead and apply revision. So sometimes it just takes some playing around with and some experimentation. But yeah, the more that you utilize it, the more that you just practice and get familiar with it, though, you're going to notice that new memory will inevitably start to stick. Yeah. John, welcome, sir. Kelly, good to have you here. Wedding music. That is a pretty username. Hey, if you, Missy, would experience someone very, very dear to you suddenly dying, would you revise or would you accept it as final? Thank you so much. Aw, excellent question. Well, I I I don't really accept anything as final because nothing is. Um, and then that also includes the concept of death and dying. It appears, of course, in this 3D world, in this world of Caesar, that you know, inevitably at some point, the people that we know and love, everybody's going to die someday, including ourselves, right? That's what we've always grown to know. Um, but death is not actually what we think it is. It's not a finality. It's not an ending of any kind, because the eternal you, the real you, cannot die. No. And for those that do pass in this 3D world, what appears to be, passing away, are very much still alive, continuing their journey, just like we are all here, continuing our journey. So death is not final, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I do need to come back and finish that series. It ended up becoming like a 3-part series on the topic of death because, of course, that's one that there's a lot of questions around, and I know it is a very sensitive topic. So, yeah, I need to come back to finishing that one. But yeah, nothing is final, not even death. Hi, Francesca. Fabiola has a really good question because I think a lot of people can relate to this one. Hey, Missy, I am now in a state where I feel like I am waiting to receive an answer or something that finally makes me shift and understand beyond uh, intellectualizing it that I am already fulfilled. I feel that until I reach that point, I will not be able to feel good or manifest what I want. Do you have any advice? Yeah, I know that this uh, a state of waiting is very common and of course not not fun, not pleasant. So the feeling of waiting is stemming from needing a shift. Like it feels like you need to have a shift first, like a light bulb moment or an epiphany. I take it beyond just you know, the concept of the law, like really having a deeper understanding, and that needs to take place before your manifestation can come to pass. Yeah, and again, I think this is kind of an expectation I think a lot of people have coming into this, like almost waiting for that shift, that eureka moment, that light bulb moment. Um, and to be abundantly clear, we don't have to wait for anything. We don't have to keep ourselves in a state of waiting. And in fact, I certainly do not recommend doing so. I know sometimes, of course, we can't help it, just how we've been conditioned. But what I want to advise is just when we go to imagine a scene, when we go to the end in imagination, we want to make sure that we are practicing doing so from the state of this is happening right now. This is happening right now. A very subtle and somewhat sneaky trap that we get fallen into is when we imagine, we're still imagining for the future outcome, which also can leave us in a state of waiting. Um, but when you are imagining and you are really putting yourself in that first person experience, and you start to notice the reactions and responses, just as you would be noting in the 3D, right? We're basically using our imagination to construct the experience we would want to be having in the 3D. That's we're aiming to replicate that. So what we're going to find when we do that is a notable shift, similar to what you're describing. Um, so I'm not sure exactly how you have been utilizing and applying or what techniques that you've been using to go to the end, but one of the main reasons why we want to make sure to practice like the present experience and imagination, like making it very much here and now, is so that we're not stuck in a state of waiting for anything, because that's just putting a condition at the end of the day. We're placing this condition that says, I need this to happen before I can see the outcome that I want or anything like that. We want to ideally avoid that. Yeah. So it is a little bit of a practice, but to the best of your ability, I would make sure that you are really, immersing yourself in it. When you go to imagine, it's happening right now. And practice going back to this is happening right now. Yeah. I almost forgot that today is Sunday. Yeah. I always lose track of the days. You're not alone in that. Happy Sunday, Missy. This sort of sounds crazy, but I think having my worst fear realized with SP made everything so much easier. I feel more confident and relaxed now that I only have myself to rely on. That's that's not crazy at all. It's really not. You know, uh, Naturally, it is ideal that we don't want to have that experience, but there is a freedom that comes from when you're no longer confronting the 3D outcomes on a regular basis, or confronting the things that you don't want, seeing the things that you don't want. When you are in a place where you are finally able to turn the attention to yourself, direct the attention to focusing on you, it is a relief. It is an incredible feeling. Yeah. No longer having to carry that anxiety of, harnessing so much of that attention to the outside world. Yeah. No, I am actually really happy to hear that. Is we want to help get ourselves to a place where we can be more relaxed, feel more confident within ourselves. So that is awesome to see. Hello, Dina. Megan's got a great question. Hi, Missy, with the ladder method. Isn't saying I won't climb a ladder similar to wavering since it's affirming against it? Why did Neville teach to say I won't climb? Good question. Yeah, it sounds backwards. Um, but he was very deliberate in this exercise. And the point that Neville was trying to make with his followers was he was trying to show them the importance of imagining before bed. Like, when we are able to really impress the subconscious, that is going to have the most powerful effect. So, why he recommended, first imagining the ladder as you're going to sleep, imagining climbing up and down the ladder, uh, in that window before bed is a very powerful window. That is really a time where we're naturally going to have a much more open window to subconscious impressions. We're going to have we're going to be more open to those impressions being made. Neville talks in great lengths about the importance of what we are doing and what we are feeling as we are going into sleep. And why I also try to stress the importance of making sure that whatever it is that we want to do, we definitely want to make sure that we are taking only the lovely things and only what we desire with us into sleep, because that's really where we're going to have, I don't want to say the best chance or anything like that, but with that window open, it's going to make things feel a lot easier. Because what he was trying to get at there, it's not so much the words that you're saying in the day to day as much as it is the subconscious impressions that you're leaving. So he's essentially trying to show that the subconscious mind is ultimately more powerful. Yeah. So, and I'm not, I think I made a video talking about this, but for the life of me, I don't remember now that I think about it. But essentially, he's saying that what you take with you into sleep is going to be more powerful than the words that you say in the day to day. Yeah. Mm-mm. Let me see. Finding my spot. Was your partner always the same? And when you got rid of your insecurities, you learned to feel safe with him? Or did your partner's behavior somehow change? Thanks for all that you do. Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely. Yeah. So some of his behaviors absolutely did change, but what I focused on mainly in the time when I finally had the realization that this is about the change in self, and I've talked about this in plenty of previous videos, but how I had been approaching trying to manifest him back at first was not the most effective way to go about it, to say the least, because all of my attention was on him, trying to get him back, constantly fixed on the problem and the absence of him, all that stuff. So when I started to really hone in on conditioning myself, reconditioning myself, namely those insecurities, changing a lot of those long held beliefs, like core concepts, basically. I absolutely did notice a change in how he was showing up. And overall, yeah, just naturally feeling more safe, feeling more confident, feeling more secure. Yeah, so I guess you could say it was both to answer your question. Yeah. Is it accurate to say that our emotional reaction and the realities we experience are primarily influenced by the perspectives we choose to hold rather than the events slash circumstances happening around us? 100%. 100%. Yeah. Everything is shaped and molded by our perspective or our beliefs, our assumptions, how we are perceiving things, what we are assuming about things. You know, it's in the name, law of assumption, right? Yeah. So our reactions and the circumstances we experiences are shaped and molded through the lens that we're looking at everything through, through the perspective that we have, rather than the events and circumstances. The events and circumstances are the effect of the cause, and that cause is your beliefs and assumptions. So what I naturally assume and believe to be true is what I'm going to see out pictured. And I'm also going to be able to note based on my reactions what those beliefs and assumptions are. Yeah. Nailed it. Good morning and happy new year. You too, Teresa. You guys are so good. Let me see. Hey, Missy, do you believe in the concept that it is this or something better? Or should it be exactly what you visualize? Good question. I've never my this is my own personal thoughts. You know, it's probably going to be different for everyone. I'm sure it's going to be different for everyone, but I don't really resonate with the this or something better. Um, I really do try to encourage people to, if there is something specific that you desire, be it a person, a career, whatever that might be, go all in on that. Go all in. If you want what you want, that's because you were meant to experience it out here in this 3D. Um, I don't want to say it's like inherently wrong, to use this or something better, but it's almost a bit of a plan B kind of thing. I don't know. It kind of leaves room for a bit of wavering. Again, this is just me. If you enjoy using that, if you enjoy the saying and feeling into this or something better, if that's something that does work for you and helps you to feel more relaxed and overall feel good, then by all means. It's all about the feeling at the end of the day. But I do encourage people to go all in on exactly what you want, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. Yeah. What do I do when I feel that my inner world is confused with doubts, fear, overthinking, third party, and fight with SP while not feeling that SP cares about me like before? I feel my focus on myself is zero. Yeah. Yeah. I think we've all been here, Deanna. I think we've all been here. The more that we start to observe the inner world, at first, especially as we become more conscious of the things that we are thinking and naturally assuming, it can be a bit jarring. It could be daunting. We may have no idea just how much inner conflict has been taking place. That is a normal reaction. I feel like my focus on myself is zero. Well, this is what we're aiming to change right there. This is what we're aiming to change because I could say for most people, we're conditioned to put our focus on external things, external circumstance, external people. We tend to be very focused on this world out here. And I know at least in my case, I very rarely, if ever, prioritized or focused on myself. So we may not be used to that. And just like the introduction of any new way of thinking, it does take some getting used to. But that's why one of the things that is really good to practice and bring into your daily practice is meditation. Meditation is a fantastic way of learning to shut out the 3D and really turn the focus. It makes it so you have to focus on your inner world. So if you haven't yet, I would definitely recommend introducing a meditation practice, something that is going to help you to shut out the senses of the 3D. Yeah. But it is new, so it does take some getting used to, for sure. Hey, Missy, what happens if two people are manifesting the same person? Do they both get them since it's infinite realities? Mhm. I mean, effectively, yeah. Yeah. In your reality, in your experience that you are witnessing through your eyes, it is whatever you are deciding, you are choosing. Because what we're doing essentially is just selecting states. We're not even so much creating as we are selecting from the infinite realities that exist, the infinite states or timelines, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So if there are two people that are after the same thing, going to the end, then in their respective realities, they're going to achieve what they want. Mhm. Oh, flexibility. Hi, Missy. Every time I consciously manifest, I always seem to get the opposite. Example, I'm trying to manifest financial freedom, and days later, I get huge bills and my car needs fixing. Oh, you are certainly not alone in this. And I have made a few videos touching on this topic, why it seems like we're manifesting the opposite of what we want. And if this appears to be what's happening and taking place, that's sort of a feedback or what we want to take from that is maybe paying closer attention or becoming more aware of your natural state. So the natural thoughts that come up for you, the natural reactions that you have, um, ways to gauge what state of consciousness you are occupying most often, dominantly, because that's what will ultimately manifest. We manifest everything from the dominant state we occupy. So if I am, saying affirmations or trying to visualize and apply techniques, but maybe most of the day I'm very much worried about money, stressed about finances, in my head about all these things, I'm going to see the results of where I am keeping my attention and my focus. So it's indication that we do want to pay close attention to what are the things that are coming up subconsciously, of course, um, because that's going to tell us everything that we need to know about what state we're actually occupying. And with that, we can then course correct or we can adjust our ways of approaching this. Perhaps we want to try different ways of imagining, different techniques, something to really help us capture that feeling of the end. like genuinely feeling like it's done. You have all the abundance in the world. It is yours. What does that look like for you? Yeah. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Marie, oh my goodness. Yes, good morning. A topical question. How do we manifest to stop natural disasters? Several of my friends in LA lost their homes in the fires. Oh, I am so sorry. I know. It's, yeah, when it comes to natural disasters or terrible news that we see and hear all the time, it can feel very overwhelming. Like, how do we respond to that? And how do we imagine that? And really, what I've been doing personally is just really more like going more general and just imagining everyone safe and secure and everything ultimately working out in their favor. And really, it's in my reality, I can just direct where I put my attention, where I put my focus, and really not giving so much attention and energy into things that are disastrous and things that are terrible. And sometimes, of course, when we receive bad news, be there however we can as far as in the 3D goes, offering help, anything like that, but always imagining the very best outcome. Seeing that no matter what, holding everyone safe in consciousness. I know it's difficult. I know it is not the easiest thing to do. Um, this was one of the reasons why Neville Goddard used to recommend to his followers, be mindful of what you are consuming and the content that you're consuming. We just really want to practice where are we directing our attention and what are we imagining, basically. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I too have friends and family down in the LA area, so it is scary times. But what I've been doing is just consistently, whenever it pops up in my mind or whenever I see something about it, I just I hold those people in consciousness and really just imagine them safe. Seeing everyone they're safe. Yeah. Hello. If we visualize and are in the state, is it key to not contradict it for it to manifest? Just stay in the state long enough. As long as we are in that state, it's our new set of beliefs, correct? You are correct. Mhm, mhm. That is the long and short of it, yeah. The aim here is maintaining that new state, right? Again, we all have a dominant state of consciousness, and that's gonna be our dominant beliefs, assumptions, how we are perceiving things, the ideas that we have, what we are naturally feeling as true for us, that is what determines the state you occupy. And everything in as far as the 3D is concerned stems from that state. So the key here is to not be double-minded. Now, of course, for the vast majority of people, especially if you are newer to these teachings, it is very common to be double-minded at first. Hence why we talk so much about persistence and continuing to go back to that new state over and over, because each time we revisit it, each time we move into that new place, it's going to start to become more and more familiar to us. Neville likened states to a house, right? Like we have our home, we have our normal home that we return to every day, we live in, and it feels very natural to us. And when we move into a new place, there's always that weird adjustment period where it's not very familiar and it takes us a little bit to get used to it. It's very similar to that concept. So yeah, the key is maintaining the state long enough to see the 3D desires unfold, to see the bridge of incidents unfold. Yeah. A spot. Hey, Missy, for sats, do we have to be fully in the state akin to sleep before we start looping? Or is it enough to be relaxed and then slip further into sleep as we are imagining? Thank you. Good question. Um, so as long as you're not trying to force it, as long as it's feeling natural, it feels kind of like things are flowing, then, if beginning to imagine or starting to loop the scene before we are fully in sets, again, as long as it's not feeling forced or strained or anything like that, I don't see anything particularly wrong with that at all. I usually, myself personally, I focus on first just getting myself into that deeply relaxed state, in that hypnagogic state, so to speak. From there, then my scene will usually come naturally to me. If I do have to, like, I'll have a general feeling about something, and it will sort of just materialize on its own. Um, I talked about this a little bit in the last Sats video that I made. However, that said, as long as it's not feeling forced or strained or keeping you up, making you more energized, so to speak, I don't see anything wrong with beginning to imagine and loop it uh, before you're quite there. Yeah. You guys are so sweet. Hi, Missy. My visa expires in 15 days. I feel unsafe in my origin country. How do I turn things around? I also need a job for the visa. It feels impossible, and the state I'm in is clearly not helping. Uh, oh, goodness, I am so sorry. Yeah, I know, especially for things that feel incredibly pressing. They are very pressing. Like you've got a certain time limit, certain things need to happen in that time limit, and there's consequences if things don't, like, having that kind of pressure. It's I know it's going to feel incredibly challenging to try to go to the end from that state. Um, however, that said, you absolutely can, and regardless of how much time there is, ultimately doesn't matter. Like, you can turn things around right now. This right now is the only time there actually is. Um, Feeling unsafe in your origin country, and I'm so sorry. What I would be practicing right now, in this case, I would be, as much and as often as you are able to, dedicating as much to the practice of really turning and shutting the senses out. So turning within. I mean, first and foremost, helping yourself to, again, to the best of your ability, take some deep breathing and getting into a more relaxed state or a more neutral state first. Helping yourself to alleviate some of that anxiety in whatever way may work best for you. Because if we're anxious, it's going to feel very tense. We're going to feel very stressed. We're going to notice a lot more resistance if we are anxious and stressed. So first, helping to get yourself as relaxed as you can, and then from there, practice with really shutting out everything, turning within, shutting out everything. And it might take some getting used to. You might notice some intrusive thoughts at first. That's normal. Don't give them any attention. Just practice continuing to go within. I would also be making sure that I revised nightly. Like if today you did not get any updates about your visa, I would go to sleep tonight imagining that you did receive the good news. But really, it is about the continuation of going back there. And I know it's not easy, especially when it feels like there is so much on the line. But ultimately, I have seen things miraculously come at the 11th hour. When it felt like I ran out of time, it showed up. It is not unheard of. It is not uncommon. It can absolutely, absolutely happen to you. But focus on the practice of trying to, number one, get yourself as calm and at least to a neutral state as possible. Practice that shutting out of the 3D senses. And then making sure that you're revising each night. And if it helps to get you things to motivate you, encourage you, inspire you, success stories, if there are things that, you know, can even in this moment help to make you feel better. Watching something that you really enjoy, reading something you really enjoy, something to help you just give you a little bit of that boost. Yeah. But know that regardless of how much time it appears left, you can make anything happen. You are so welcome. Sweet Sloth, hello. Where was it? I would love to know how to deal with my brain reminding me of things I did not want to see in my 3D, e.g., my SP smiling with 3P pops into my head at the worst possible times. Yeah, our thoughts can be terrible. Intrusive thoughts are the bane of everyone's existence. I know. Um, you're not alone in this. I would say for virtually everybody, we have this experience. Um, one thing that we want to get familiar with and practice, one thing that will naturally happen on this journey is we're going to come to realize that it's not the thoughts themselves that have power. Thoughts, just like circumstance or reactions, it's feedback. It's feedback. But in and of itself, it does not hold any power, right? Um, and also knowing that as you continue to go to the end, as you utilize your imaginal acts, feel into that state of already being, already having, the more that you go back there, the thoughts are going to naturally start to change. You don't need to interject in the day to day and try to fix your thoughts. You don't need to micromanage the thoughts that come through your head. Unfortunately, a lot of us get stuck in trying to do so because we're scared of our negative thoughts. We do not have to do anything to that degree. Um, this is just feedback that perhaps there's still this fear here. I may still have attachment to some parts of this old story, and that's okay because ultimately I am the operant power. I am the operant power, not the thoughts. The thoughts are just feedback, nothing more, nothing less. So, yeah, but just know that indication that you want to return back to that end state. That's all. Because the more that you do so, the more that you're going to see that your thoughts start to naturally change as you change. Hi, Missy. How to get out of cycles with SP? He is my girl's father. He is married, and we have been in an affair for 3 years, but I keep getting upset and triggered. How to get out of this? Yeah. How do we break cycles? How do we break the feedback loop? Revision. Well, I mean, the entire point of this practice is to break those feedback loops. It's to break out of those patterns that we just seem to be stuck in over and over again. And we do that through the reconditioning of our beliefs, the reconditioning of our assumptions. When our assumptions and our beliefs change, so will our reactions, so will our thoughts, and naturally the 3D events and circumstances. So that is sort of the cornerstone to all of this is the change of self. The whole point of the techniques is to help us break out of this feedback loop and so not perpetually stuck in a holding pattern. But also with that, I do often stress the importance of revision. If you do find yourself getting triggered in the day-to-day hours, something happens, something said, we want to make sure that when we have the opportunity to do so, that we revise it and that we not continue to take that with us into sleep. And so that we're kind of, it becomes like Groundhog's Day otherwise. Yeah. Secondly, how do I imagine with feeling tones of reality being with my SP if I never met them in person? Good question. Um, so how do we imagine with tones of reality being with SP if you've never met them? There's different ways that we can imagine. So we don't have to necessarily imagine a scene with our specific person in it. We can, but that's just one way. The important thing about our scene, the only thing that we need to be considering is what is being implied, right? So I can imagine a scene where I'm having a conversation with my best friend and I'm talking to them about this amazing person and how they've been wonderful to me and all the things that we've been doing together and plan to do together um, and bring the tones of reality in that way. Because that scene just as much implies that I am in a relationship with my specific person as a scene of that specific person and I. I hope you see what I mean, but it's all just about what is being implied. So if you don't know what they look like, or if it's somebody that you haven't met, I would take the approach of a conversation with a friend, a loved one, a family member, and go that route instead. Yeah, good day indeed. Hi, Missy. Will scripting work for revision? Yeah, yeah. You can utilize scripting for revision. How to get rid of old limiting beliefs. So that is really the point. That is the objective here. The techniques, affirmations, visualizations, sats going to the end, revision, it all serves the same purpose, and that is changing the beliefs, changing the self-concept, as we hear so often in this community. That change in self. So, no matter what it is that you desire, the objective here is always going to be the same. So it's not about trying to get the 3D to change. That's what we want naturally, but the 3D changes when we do. So we get rid of the old limiting beliefs, the old programming through imagination with the aid of our creative power, which is our imagination. Yeah. Missy, how do I stop SP from being so rational when it comes to me? I want him to just take a step towards us. I haven't seen anyone talk about this. Um, I'm trying to understand. How do you um, how do you see them, or how do you get them to stop being so rational? Like, I take it you want to see them differently, right? You want to see them showing up differently. I haven't seen anyone talk about this. So if we want to see a change in behavior from somebody, if we desire to see them showing up different, we want to imagine them being different. If I'm understanding your question correctly, if I'm off, let me know. But this is all what we are perceiving, what we are assuming. So instead of us getting worked up about what we think they're thinking, all we want to really focus on is imagining that they are showing up in the way that we desire to see them in imagination. Again, I might be misunderstanding your question, but yeah, that's really what this boils down to. Because everyone is you pushed out. Everyone is going to reflect and show up in the way that you assume that they're going to show up. So that's what we focus on changing. The assumption. Grammar Diva, happy to have you here. Happy Sunday. You guys are cracking me up. All right. Hi, Missy. I'm applying for summer internships, but my current offers are not ideal. How do I manifest ideal summer internship offers with visualizations? I'm afraid that with visualizations, where's part two? I'm afraid that with visualizations, I can't manifest the most ideal offer because the scenarios I come up with might be inaccurate. Um, might be inaccurate. I'm trying to make sure I understand, Maggie. I think I know what you're. I think I know what you're saying. Because you don't really know what those internships might look like or what the scenario, what you might be doing in them. Do you mean? So it might not be the most accurate scene, like you working or being in that internship is what I'm. If I'm misunderstanding, let me know. Um, so again, when we are visualizing, when we are imagining, it's not that we have to inherently visualize ourselves doing the thing. Like, in this case, you don't have to only limit yourself to imagining yourself doing the tasks that you would be doing in that internship. Um, the important thing with a scene is what is being implied. So if you're having difficulty with coming up with a specific scene to visualize, um, due to factors that you might not know about, you may not have all the ideas of what that looks like. I would instead imagine a conversation. This is why I love inner conversations, because this is really the best way that we can imagine our wish fulfilled that still implies that we ultimately received what we wanted. So telling a friend, family member, telling me how you got the perfect summer internship, and continuing to come back to that until you notice the feeling being elicited, the response coming up for you. But that's kind of the approach. If you're not sure exactly what to visualize, as maybe because you don't know what that looks like, I would be taking a route somewhere similar instead. Yeah. But if I misunderstood the question, let me know. Danielle, with your good questions, what's your take on releasing resistance? I've heard it can be really useful to let it sit and feel it and even send love or gratitude to it so we detach instead of just insisting it doesn't exist. I would agree. I would agree. And I know that this is probably where a lot of people struggle a little bit because I mean, number one, as humans, we don't like to feel uncomfortable. We tend to be very averse to things that are uncomfortable, so we may naturally try to avoid it. And then tack on what we know and understand about manifestation. We may be scared to feel anything that is not ideal because we don't want to manifest that. However, if we are just trying to basically shove it down, pretend like it doesn't exist, ignore it, lie to ourselves, that's effectively just suppression, which maybe will work in the short term, but is never a long-term effective approach. It's just not because we can't lie to ourselves. God cannot be mocked. We will we always know what we are feeling and what we are assuming that you can't hide it from yourself. So, yes, even if that means that we have to be pissed or angry or frustrated for a moment, even if that means that we're feeling sad, just stop fighting it because the fighting is where we get so beat down and burned out. Because we are expending so much energy trying to push back against all of these things coming up for us. When if we were to just stop fighting that and allow ourselves a moment to be human, as uncomfortable as it might be, you'll find that it will pass so much faster. Like that uncomfortable state, that resistance, that has always been, well, not always, but definitely is now a go-to of mine. If I ever notice anything come up that's not ideal, I'll observe it, I'll allow it, inevitably it will pass. I often come back to the quote that Neville said, if you need to explode, explode. Just don't let the sun descend upon your anger. Yeah, so I agree 1000%. And again, we can always come back and revise later if need be. Yeah, suppression, do not recommend. 0 stars. Sky BB, hello. It is so early where you are. Thank you for being here. All right, where am I? Question: what does it mean when they say SP is not separate from you? Good question. So what that's referring to is no one is separate. That it appears in this 3D world and in this human world of Caesar, things do appear separate. Um, but everything is consciousness. We are all one consciousness. So that's kind of what it is referring to. Um, though we have this perception of separation in order to have a human experience, um, there is nothing that is actually separate from us. Is everybody says I am. Everybody has the same awareness, the same consciousness, and that is God. So no one and nothing is separate from that. It kind of ties back into non-duality. And I always say that Neville Goddard is kind of an introduction to non-duality. So if you're curious to have a better understanding, I would definitely look up more on non-duality, give you kind of a better idea. Yeah. Had to take a break from the work due to a massive headache. I'm taking it slow today. Good, good. No, take it easy. Self-care, priority number one. Totally just fell asleep again. Girl, it's like 4 in the morning where you are. That is okay. That is totally fine. Where was that? Sorry, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. For those of you here on the West Coast, where it is still morning. Missy, do you believe in recognizing meeting someone from a past life? Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that my husband and I met in a past life. I know we've met. I know we've met. Hmm. It happens because you'll have that knowing. For those who have experienced it, like when you meet somebody and it just feels like you've known them forever, like quite literally, you've known them. That's because you have. Yeah. Hey, just wanted to ask, I'm having trouble creating a scene with SP because whatever conversation I come up with doesn't feel genuine or likely. How could I fix that? What to do differently? Thanks. Good question. So, creating a scene with SP because it doesn't feel like the ideas that you're having aren't feeling natural or likely to happen. You're noticing resistance there? Yeah, yeah, which is not at all uncommon. I mean, that there's a couple different approaches you can take in this case. I mean, number one, if visualizing a scene is maybe keeping things stuck, going into a more general feeling state, such as utilizing "Isn't it wonderful," right, or the lullaby method, same thing, but kind of really honing in first on the feeling, and then whatever details come from that, whatever specific details come from that, just kind of let it appropriate as it happens. But if I'm understanding correctly, it may also be that getting into a more going into a deeper, more relaxed state can help. Because the reason that Neville and similar teachers often recommend going into a drowsy state is because when we are in that state akin to sleep or we are deeply relaxed, we're going to naturally notice less resistance. Like, we are better able to imagine something that in the daytime hours we would have a lot of resistance to. I hope that makes sense. So if I have a strong belief and in the waking hours I can't imagine this one thing because it feels ridiculous, it doesn't feel likely or realistic, when I get into SATS or when I get into a more drowsy, relaxed state, I'm better able to imagine that thing regardless. It's not going to feel so difficult. I hope I'm making sense there. So yeah, I would go either one of those two routes. Hi, Missy. I would like to start a small business so I can work from home and watch my children. Do you have suggestions on an end scene I can focus on? Good question. Absolutely. I mean, the first thing that popped in my head was imagining a conversation with a friend telling about how you've hit this milestone. And in 2025, you took the leap, you started your own business, and it was more successful than you could have ever imagined. And really just having that conversation about how much your life has changed now that you have more time at home with your kids and how much of a relief that is. You don't have a commute to work anymore. Things like that. If you know exactly what that business looks like, you can construct scenes around that. You can imagine you know, seeing the numbers that you make coming in every month. Um, but once again, if you don't happen to have a clear idea of what that looks like, if you're still trying to figure all that out, then just going to a scene that implies that you know this was the year that you started your own business and it really took off for you. Yeah. Oh, AM2 Media. Hey, Missy, I have a quick question. How do you get yourself out of a 2-day long spiral after you've got some bad manifestation advice? Mm, I am so sorry. I think there was a part two to your question. Let me just double check really quick. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, for context, a manifestation friend kept urging me to message my SP during one of the two times where she has implied she did not want to be contacted. I did so, got a haha react, and have spiraled. Ugh, I'm so sorry. If you are able to, if you maybe, depending on how you are feeling in this moment, as if you are able to, or as soon as you are able to, I would revise. Like, bar none, I would revise. I understand that that can feel difficult to do, especially if we are feeling in the midst of a spiral, if we're feeling like we're not in the greatest of states, that can feel really challenging. I know it's going to sound very counterintuitive to us because as human beings, we're very like action oriented. We want to take actions, but in this case, I say don't fight it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to push yourself along to get yourself out of it faster, because what we are unintentionally doing is giving more attention to the unwanted state, and it usually just kind of kicks up all the dust and everything like that again. So, um, as soon as you are in a place where you can do so, or if you are in a place where you could do so, I would revise either that you didn't ultimately reach out, or that you reached out and there was a different response, there was a different reaction from her. um yeah, I know it is, when we are in the midst of that spiral, it is a completely different state. So the thoughts are going to be different, our reactions are going to be different, everything is probably going to feel significantly more challenging from that state. That is normal. It's not that it's actually true that things are worse or things are harder. That's just how it's going to feel. That's normal. Um, don't fight it. Whatever you can do to help bring yourself a bit of peace or joy, or even right now, just something to possibly help you feel better that's in no way related to manifestation. Turn on your favorite movie or show, or reading your favorite book, going for a walk, listening to music, anything that can help give us a boost in that regard. Um, if none of that is working, then maybe you just need to let it out for a bit and then come back and revise later. Yeah, I am so sorry, but this will pass. You're not going to be in this state forever, not even close. You will be back in that wish fulfilled state in no time. How to be neutral about your desire, when to let go. Good question. So that is those are things that are going to happen on their own. So how to make the desire feel neutral and how to let go, those are things that will happen naturally. As you continue to go to the end, as you familiarize yourself with that end state, as you really like feel yourself to be that person, the desire is going to start to neutralize it, because when you have something, when that desire then becomes normal for you, you're used to it, you're used to the experience of it, it's going to start to naturally feel neutral. That goes for anything. Same thing with letting go. Letting go is the byproduct of continuing to go to the end. You will naturally let go. Yeah. It's not something that we need to do or try to do by force. Where was my spot? The old story is playing. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I try to keep in order. I really do. So it takes me a second to go back and find where I was. Bear with me. Hi, Missy. Can you talk about what we should and shouldn't be thinking when manifesting an SP back? I catch myself talking to SP in my mind a lot. Sometimes are how um, noticing reconciliation talk. I don't know if that's okay. That's normal. That's normal. You mean the inner conversations around reconciliation? That's normal. Mm, yeah. I mean, as far as things that we may want to take note of, if we're noticing a lot of inner fighting with this person, if we're noticing arguments internally, sometimes we'll be going about our day and out of the blue, we'll realize that we've been having this like fight with somebody in our mind. That's something virtually everybody does or has done. Anything like that may be indication that we want to redirect our attention. We want to focus on a new state, focus on going back to that new state instead. Um, but it's normal to have these kinds of thoughts come up on this journey. I mean, naturally, we're going to be thinking about our person. Yeah, yeah. As long as it lines up with what you ultimately desire, you're good. And any thoughts that don't, that's just feedback that we want to return our attention, go back to the end. Oh, thank you, JJ. Sending all my love to your country amidst these horrible fires. Love from Poland. Thank you. I know. Oh, I know. Where was I? Will it really affect your manifestation if you manifest contact from SP after being ghosted at the same time as manifesting living in the end as a married couple? Is that counterproductive? Good question. So, imagining reconciliation, like parallel to going to the end, the ultimate end, like imagining both is how I take it. I mean, you could if you wanted to. Though naturally, if you go to the end, all of the things that happen in the middle there are implied, right? So I wouldn't say that we would need to, focus our attention on receiving that text message or they initiated contact. Because if you are continuing to go to the end, the natural bridge that unfolds will have to include them reaching out or a reconciliation of some point, of some kind. So, um, that said, if you enjoy it, if it helps you and feels good, I say go nuts. How specific do we have to be when manifesting? Good question. As specific as we can. So if you know the details, if you for things that you are very clear on, it is important to be as specific as we can. That said, sometimes we may not have all the details. Like perhaps we have a desire for abundance. We want to be financially free and secure, but maybe we don't know what that looks like exactly. In those cases, you can still very much go to the end and just imagine yourself as being abundant, living the life that you would be living, as somebody who had all the money that they ever wanted. But where we can, as much as we can, we do want to be as specific as possible. Yeah. Night owl, you literally are a night owl. You're not kidding. Lullaby method worked so good for me. Good, yes. Lullaby is my favorite. That is my personal go-to. And it was Neville's too. Fun fact. Finding my spot. Missy, what technique did you use to become more secure and so on? Good question. Dominantly, it was revision and SATs, effectively. Just continuing to see myself as the version of Missy Renee, who was more confident, who felt more secure in herself. And, different scenarios, circumstances that would imply that. A lot of conversations, a lot of inner conversations, things of that sort. But yeah, yeah, I talk about revision, won't shut up about revision for that reason. Mhm. I find the quickest manifestations are the one with least effort, then drop it, and reality shifts to the experience you want in 3D. Bingo. Yep. Yep. Least effort. Absolutely agreed. Oh, where was I? Sorry, guys. Um, Hi, Missy. I am manifesting a well known SP who doesn't know me. But if the SP doesn't know me, how do I know I've impressed the subconscious? And can it really work even in the case they don't know you? Yes, it can always work. It is always working. The law is always working, no matter what. So, yes, it doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter if you haven't met them, they don't know who you are. None of that matters. Truly, truly, none of that matters. How do you know you've impressed the subconscious? You'll know you've left an impression based on your reactions, based on the natural thoughts that come up for you in the day to day. Like that is truly our gauge, letting us know what state we're occupying, what has been impressed or not impressed. It's going to be our reactions. So if I'm still noticing maybe a lot of fears, uncertainties, doubts, things of that nature, that's my feedback that I probably want to continue to go back to that end, continue to see myself in that state, in that reality, right? Yeah. Oh, Julia, I am so sorry. It is not too late in the new year to turn this around, though. Instead of coming Instead of coming back, he seems to be going away more and more. So as challenging as it can be, because it does not come naturally to us to take our attention away from the circumstance, but we really, really, really have to practice. Where are we directing our focus? Where are we directing our attention? Like, this really is the cornerstone. Because if all of my attention and focus is on what they are doing and it's something that I don't like and it's something that I don't want, and that's what's being impressed, that's what I'm feeding into in consciousness, I'm going to see more of that. Hence why we really, really, this practice is all about directing your attention to what you desire to see, continuing to go back to the state where you are already together. The year has been off to a wonderful start for you. He's been getting closer and closer every day. Like, I know at first our mind is this wild animal. It doesn't want to cooperate. It wants to go wherever it wants to go. It's like a monkey that runs around, it's flinging poo everywhere. But the more that we really start to hone in on that focus, practice with redirecting our attention, and it is a practice. But the more that we do this, the less that we are going to find ourselves affected by outside circumstance, which is only just a manifestation of the old story anyways. So that's where we get stuck in the holding pattern. Yeah. So anything like a focused attention meditation, anything to help you with the practice of, disciplining where you go in here. And ultimately know that no matter what it looks like outside right now, you can turn it around. None of this has the final say. Accurate description of my mind, monkey flinging poo running around everywhere. I think most people can resonate with that because why it's called the monkey mind. Missy, I meant to tell you, you must build a catio. Oh, already on it. Already on it. In fact, I sent my husband to the hardware store yesterday to get supplies to build a catio. Great minds think alike, though, Morgan. Thank you. Here's my question. I'm manifesting a reconnection with my SP. I see her at work every day. I know it's early since applying the techniques, but it feels frustrating. Mm, yeah, I know, Adam. That's especially if we are encountering said person in the day to day, the interactions that we're having out in the 3D, due to our conditioning and attachment to the 3D, it can feel tricky navigating that. In that case, well, I will be reaching out to you here shortly after this live, but know that one thing that, if, especially in cases where we're interacting with the person on a regular basis, and if we're noticing triggers or we're affected because we're not seeing what we desire to see, this is where daily revision is going to be your best friend. Go to bed imagining you had the most incredible day with her, whatever that looks like. But go to bed each night imagining that you had the perfect day with her every single night. That's really, really bizarre. Vivian, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I need to look into what's going on there. Make sure that that gets sorted. Absolutely. And that's because I know I sent you a response last week. So I'm going to look into what happened there. We'll get it sorted. No worries. Saba, it's good to see you here. Hi, Missy. Some people judge me for wanting to have my ex back after his infidelity and unfaithfulness. Is that bad? They say once a cheater, always a cheater. Yeah, yeah. Very common saying. Um, that being said, that is ultimately an assumption, right? Once a cheater, always a cheater. It's an assumption. Now we can argue the validity or how true it is. It's going to be different amounts of true for everyone. We have to remember everyone is reflection of us. So it's difficult at first, especially when you are new to these teachings, because of how we are conditioned to see everyone as separate from us, with their own separate ideas and concepts and things like that. But other people are reflecting what we are assuming, what we are believing. So, and a lot of that is societal conditioning, is what I'm trying to get to. It's societal conditioning. Um, we already have so many preconceived notions that have been fully formed and operating before we found the law. We everybody had like pre-existing beliefs and assumptions that felt very fixed and true, and a lot of this is where we run into resistance, because we're seeing it manifested in the form of other people talking down to you, or you know dismissing you wanting to be with your person, and it's leaving you feeling a lot of doubt. This is number one. This is not bad because clearly you do not want to be with the version of him that showed up before. I feel very confident to say that that's not the version you are after. um, so no, this is not a bad thing that you desire to be with the version of your person that you are in love with, because that is your desire. That is what you desire, is what you are meant to experience. That's why we have desires. Yeah. Just remember that everyone is you pushed out. So everyone is going to be reflecting your thoughts, your beliefs, your assumptions, your fears, your doubts, all of it. So we have to take into consideration that this is the old story. This is the old narrative. This is just the old. It's old news. It's old garbage. I do not have to give meaning to any of it. Yeah. Can you manifest forgiveness from your SP? Absolutely. Absolutely. Can affirming that they already forgave you help? Yeah. If affirmations are your go to, even going a step beyond that, you know, affirming that you are in a lovely, healthy, committed relationship, um, in and of itself kind of implies that there's been forgiveness, right? All right, where was I? Mr. Spaceman, long time no see, and I love your username. Hello, long time no see. Thanks for helping me last time. I got my manifestation. And right now, I think I am forcing myself to feel normal. Like how to feel normal. What should I do next? Oh, how, sort of uncertainty as to where to go from here. First, congratulations, by the way. I am so happy to hear that you were successful in seeing your manifestation come to pass. Um, right now, I feel like I'm forcing myself to feel normal. Well, I guess the first thing that I would ask myself is, how do I want to feel? Not what should I feel, or what are the expectations of how I should be showing up. Like, what how do I want to feel? Like, when in doubt, returning to that question. And from there, you can continue to allow yourself to go back. Because I do like that you're thinking still, like, where do I go from here? Um, the fact that the law is always operating, it doesn't just cease being as soon as we get our manifestation back. But ask yourself, how do you want to feel? And, construct or appropriate a scene from that is what I would be doing. Yeah. Where was Missy, have you ever read The Kabbalion? If so, what are your thoughts? I have not. I have not. That one has been on my list for a long time, though, so I need to. Definitely need to do that. I've had it recommended by multiple people, so I'm manifesting to be a natural winner, like winning Facebook competitions, lotto, etc. I affirm I'm always winning. So, how should I deal when I don't actually win? What should I tell myself? Thank you. Good question. Um, we want to remember that whatever's playing out in the 3D right now is an impression that was left in the so-called past. So, essentially, it's an old story. It's an old narrative. Each moment to moment to moment to moment, and every single moment is a blank slate. It's a completely new and fresh start. So we do not need to get ourselves caught up if the 3D is showing us something opposite. I mean, if yes, it sucks. It's not ideal, naturally, but remembering to come back to this is an old narrative. If I was in a state of somebody who didn't win, if I saw myself for the longest time as somebody who was not a winner, somebody who was maybe even a loser, um, if that has been my dominant state, then you know, it may take me some reconditioning to really get out of that. So even if I do see it crop up from time to time here, I'm not going to let it continue to define me. I hope I'm making sense here. Don't let the circumstances define who you are. It's old news, old story. Yeah. Um, Sorry guys, chat's being jumpy, trying to keep my spot. Oh, I got a few minutes left, so I got time for maybe one or two more. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Um, Sorry guys. Weird. I swear there were some questions that were here just a second ago, and I'm trying to find them. I've been in the Sabbath for 2 weeks. Woke up this morning and was like, huh, it's not here. Weird. And kept on with my day. Any thoughts? Um, So, well, I guess the most important thing is how are you feeling, right? So if you've been in the Sabbath for, I mean, are you noticing reaction? Like, are you noticing any kind of maybe negative feeling associated with that? Or is it just totally able to dismiss it? Um, we don't know how long the bridge takes to unfold. And I know that's part of what, in our human nature, it drives us crazy a little bit. But I would say, like, yes, you may be consciously aware that it's not physically here, but when you're in the Sabbath, it really doesn't matter because genuinely the feeling is it's done. There's nothing left for me to do. Genuinely nothing left for me to do. So, I mean, as long as noting that your reactions and the thoughts that you're having are, at least for the most part, aligned with that desired outcome, I wouldn't give it too much thought, right? And just judging by how you wrote it, it sounds like, um, yeah, no, you're doing just fine. We've all had those feelings of like something is going to happen here, like something is like that subtle knowing, even if we didn't have proof. I think just about everybody has experienced what that's like. It's very much akin to this. Hmm. So if you're noticing that you've fallen out of the state, just redirect yourself. Yeah. Mhm. You are so welcome, you guys. Thank you for doing this live chat every Sunday, Missy. Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I love Sundays. Sundays are quickly turning into my favorite day for this very reason. I love being here with you guys. Hey, I'm great at manifesting text from SP, but not much more than that. I've affirmed for just a general relationship so far. Any tips? Well, make sure that you are allowing yourself to be bold. If what you want is a committed and loving relationship with your person, make sure that that is where you're putting your attention. Like that's where you're placing yourself. Like that's the state you want to occupy. So, I mean, if that is what you have been doing, then it's about continuing to go there until it becomes just the natural response for you. Hmm. But um, affirm for just a general relationship. I mean, if it feels like there's the ability to do so, you know, be as bold and specific as you can. Now, if you're noticing resistance to it, that I understand that's one thing, but um, if we're seeing like things are stalled or they're not advancing or not progressing, we just want to take that as like we're giving more attention to maybe the 3D or the unwanted circumstance or what is taking place in front of us instead of allowing ourselves to continue to go to the end. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Uh, and on that note, you guys, unfortunately, I know there's so many questions left, but I do have to get going. Thank you so much for being here, though. Much love to each and every single one of you. If I did not get to your question today, rest assured I do come on here every single Sunday. So I hope you all are able to join next week. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your weekend. Take care of yourself. As always, much love. And see you next time. Bye, guys.